Yeah, so if you were in a family and there was some physical punishment, Yasmina, how would you feel about that?
Physical punishment?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it would be best to kind of contact one of you because I just think that physically punishing kids isn't right because it kind of instills fear instead of helping them learn.
Hmm. Okay. And Anna, what would your reaction be?
I think I'd also be kind of uncomfortable. That's just not something that is normal in the household that I grew up in or just anywhere that I've been really. But I do agree. I don't think it's my place to really intervene in that sort of family dynamic. So I think I would come to you and just maybe discuss it. Maybe kind of check in with the kid afterwards and just say, hey, are you okay? But I agree with everyone else's answers too.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a nice thing, to say, going to check out the kid and see how they're getting on. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, and here's a question, is that motive enough to say, look, I can't stay with this family? I need to be moved to a different family or a different placement. Um, my answer would be it probably is. Okay, it probably is a situation where you could say, look, I can't live with these people, with this situation. You might say, well, maybe it's just a one off, and it might just be the only instance that this ever happened. Um, so I would then say, probably, well, maybe it was a one off, give them another chance, you know. But if you saw it happening again, or you felt that that was customary or habitual, then yeah, I would definitely recommend that. But what do you do in those cases? If you're with a family, there's something which is so disturbing that you can't carry on. Um, you have to be patient because it is possible always that there's not another family immediately available. And in those cases, you have two choices. Okay. One, you can wait at the family where you are, um, knowing that you're probably going to be a great comfort for the child. Okay. Because knowing that you're there. Um, or the second one is say, well, I'm going to take a couple of weeks and go traveling, which would be okay, but in which case you'd be responsible for your own costs whilst we find another family. Okay, so you have to weigh these things up. I've not heard of this before. Okay, it was the first time I've heard of this, unless other volunteers in the past saw it and chose not to say anything to me. That's also another. Anyway, so those are our kind of placements. A question, yes, okay, question for you. Some of our, as you know, one of our and possibly two of our placements are now going to be offering shared apartment accommodation instead of a family accommodation. Um, can you tell me how would you feel about that? So you wouldn't be living with a family, you'd be sharing. Obviously, if you're coming with a friend, you'd be able to share with your friend. There'd be two people in an apartment, and the school would then give you that lunch at school, but then they'd also pay you an allowance for your evening and weekend meals. Um, how would you feel about that if that was offered to you, Amali? Or how important is the family experience to you?
I think I'd be happy with whatever. That sounds like a really good opportunity to live with someone new and have a bit of independence. But I also love to be a part of like a family dynamic while I'm there, just to have, like a unit that I can, look after me and
Mhm.
vice versa.
Okay. Right. What about Yasmina? What would that mean if you were offered, a family accommodation rather than sorry, if you were offered shared accommodation rather than family accommodation?
Honestly, I don't mind either because if I were to live in an apartment with my best friend, it would also be awesome we could learn so much about living alone and cook our own stuff. It would be really great. But I also really would appreciate the opportunity to be within Spanish family because I would love to learn more Spanish. So both is great, I think.
Okay, that's nice. That's lovely. That's lovely. Okay. And Anna, yeah, Anna, what do you think? Well, you've already lived alone, haven't you?
Yeah, I've already lived alone with roommates, and it's really nice, but I think the opportunity to be, I wouldn't mind either way. I think I'd make the most out of the situation. Um, but I do think that something about being with the host family and just being immersed in that culture is so invaluable to the experience. And I think it's just a lot easier to stay involved in the community and in the activities if you are with a host family rather than like just kind of being with a roommate or with a different volunteer. I just, yeah, either way would be cool, but the the option to be immersed would be just absolutely so cool.
Okay, absolutely, yeah. And we're finding more and more that there are more kind of um, uh, different ways, you know. So we've got another volunteer at the moment who's living with a single parent family, which actually the father and the two kids, the two girls, his two daughters, we're absolutely happy with the situation because the father is a teacher at the same school where she's doing her volunteer period. But in this case, it's shared custody. So it means that the mother, the father is with the daughters for 2 weeks a month, and the mother for 2 weeks a month. When the father does not have the girls at home, he goes to live elsewhere. He has a second residence, and he has whatever he has to do there, and effectively leaves the volunteer alone for 2 weeks a month. Right? And she's very happy with that. So wow, I can at least pay a lot of attention to the kids for the 2 weeks I'm there. In fact, instead of doing 5 hours, she's offering them 10 hours for those 2 weeks. But the other 2 weeks, completely free to come and get to know people, do whatever she likes. So that's interesting. It's just interesting ways of looking at it. Okay, lovely. Anyway, Marley, you've already got a placement. Okay, so we've already got your placement sorted out, and that's definitely going to be the host back. Okay, I'm just looking. I know who's going to be going with you as well. Okay, let's just go with a couple more things. Just remember, always please, your WhatsApp group, really, really important. Okay, make sure you're looking out for messages and answering. And again, this message, I went to see 3 schools yesterday down here in Valencia, and they all said to me, please, please ask the volunteers not to use their phones in class. Just don't take them out because at the moment in Spain, there are so many problems with kids um, taking in their smartphones when they're not meant to, smuggling them in, having a spare smartphone, and as soon as they see a smartphone being taken out, it's like pandemonium. Everybody's kind of fascinated and feel that they're being left out if they don't. Okay, so please. All right. Good. Our timeline at the moment is at the end of this month, you want to have all your documents ready. So everything which is outstanding, I will update you, will be a police certificate, medical certificate, everything must be absolutely ready. If you need a visa, you will have the documents you need by the end of this month. Okay? Including a letter from the school, including a letter from us, and instructions about how to submit the visa. You would then have a limit, absolute limit of 3 weeks to submit your documents to the consulate. Okay? Submitting to the documents to the consulate I will give you precise instructions if it's Sydney, if it's New York, if it's Miami, Chicago, or wherever you are. Okay, and that will give you enough time. That means within 1 month, you should be able to collect or receive your passport and your visa. I say this because when you apply for your visa, you have to send the physical passport as well. Okay, right? That should be the week before Christmas. The week before Christmas, and you have to send us a copy of the visa. Your online orientation should be the first week of December, and I'm trying very, very hard to work out a time which is going to be good for everybody. Okay? And then the 15th of January would be your arrival. If you're coming in from the United States or Australia, that's Thursday the 15th of January, right in there, 2026. Okay. If you're coming in from Germany, you can come in on Friday the 16th, which means you'll be arriving at your placement on Monday the 19th. Monday the 19th of January. Cool. You can start looking at flights for those dates right now if you want to. I just wanted to talk very, very briefly now about the visa system. Okay, so the visa system, excuse me, Yasmina, this is not for you, but other people who will be watching this later will be needing it. Right. So first of all, if you're coming for 6 months or more, you're going to need a visa. Okay, no, excuse me. If you're coming for more than 3 months, you need a visa. If you're coming for 3 months or less, you don't need a visa. Okay? So if your initial stay is for 6 months or so, you'll need a visa. So one of the first things you need to do is to have a look at the Spanish consulate website for where you live. Okay. Now, this will be in our meeting notes, which I'll send you later on. Okay. And you have to look at the exact requirements which that consulate is asking you for. And you think, well, it should be the same all over the world. And it should be the same all over the world. But the visa system for Spain is in transition. Okay? And it's in transition. So this means that it has been outsourced to a company called BLS, right? And BLS handle the visas as an agency for the consulates. They work very well. They're very fast. Okay, they're very, very good. Okay, so I know that in the United States, everything is going through BLS. So you would have to look again at the consulate website, and it will give you the appropriate contact for BLS. Okay, so BLS are responsible for making sure the documents being submitted are correct. However, in Canberra, Sydney, Wellington, London, London is also using BLS. So at the moment, Canberra, Sydney, and Wellington are not using BLS. They're doing it directly. But all three of these consulates are also very, very good. They're very, very helpful as well. Now, you're going to apply for a student visa, not a volunteer visa. A volunteer visa is for people who are coming to work in the community. It could be like nuns, it could be like doctors, medics, paramedics who are coming to work in an underprivileged area or for a natural disaster. So they're coming in with a completely different set of qualifications. So you're applying for a student visa. Within the student visa, there is a section for the classroom assistants, people who are coming to spend time at the school to help them with their English. So therefore, it's very important you do not mention there is no employer because you're not working as such. Okay, there's not a voluntary organization who is sponsoring you. You are coming because the school has invited you, and you're coming on a student visa. When the time comes, I will send you a form which explains exactly what to fill in and what not to fill in. Okay? Now, these are the documents you're going to need. 100% you will need these documents. Okay? Now, things change. Things change. And that's why I will ask you always to check with the consulate website. But the most important things are these for the moment. Okay? A passport. Okay? Your passport must be valid for at least 6 months. Okay? So just make sure that your passport is valid at the moment. Your visa application form, which is okay, don't worry. You can send it to me before you send it. I will check it. Passport size photograph. Okay? A real passport size photograph. That means you go to somewhere and you take a photograph of yourself with a light background and so on. Okay, don't cut it out of a wedding or something like that. The non-refundable visa fee, which might be an Australian or US dollars or New Zealand dollar. Okay, you have to look on the website to know exactly how much it is where you're applying from. Then you will also need the letter of placement from the school and the agreement. Okay, that's a letter of placement from us. A letter of the agreement with us and the letter of placement from the school. Some of the schools will ask you to sign an additional document. Don't worry about this. It can be a very long document, but this document is mainly talking about kind of sharing personal information. You agree not to take unauthorized photos and stuff like this. But it's a very long document, and I advise you to read it, and I'll send you an English translation so you know exactly what you're doing. But it says silly things like, I will not be nasty to the children. I will not teach the children anything which represents my political views. Nothing for that enough. Okay. And also a return airline ticket. Now, luckily enough, that's not needed anymore. Okay, that's not needed anymore. But you will need a copy of a travel insurance policy. Okay, for the period once you're here. Okay, for the period of the volunteership, and that needs to be a very specific kind of insurance. Okay, it needs to be insurance which is valid in Spain. Now, that insurance should cost you approximately €35 a month. Okay? I will give you a list of recommended suppliers as well. Okay? Because there must be from a company which has a Spanish branch. So I will send you that. Letter of support must, of course, and then proof of financial means. Okay? This is really important. You need to demonstrate that you have the equivalent of €600 for every month you intend to be in Spain. Okay, so if you're asking for a 6-month visa, you need to demonstrate that you have the equivalent of €3,600 in an account, okay, under your name. So at the moment, if your parents have some money for you or they're holding money for you, you should ask them to transfer the money into one of your, okay, or one of your accounts, or an account in your name. You do not have to bring this money with you. They will not ask you when you come to show that you have this money in your account. Okay, but during the visa process, it should be in your account. Okay? The reason they do this is because this shows that you would have enough money to buy a ticket home or an onward ticket when you finish. And it also means that you will not be claiming hardship once you're in Spain, and you won't then be a burden on the state. Okay, even though there's no help for foreigners, but yes, Human rights means that people have to be looked after. Okay, and then a prepaid envelope. This is more or less what you need. You'll also need an international medical certificate, and I will send you the model, and you'll need a police record check. Okay. Now, I will tell you, if it's in Australia, it needs to be a police record check, which includes your fingerprint. And if it's in the United States, it needs to be the FBI. Okay. So you might want to have a look and see exactly what that entails. Now, the two guys who just arrived from the United States, Nicholas and Alex, they had no problem getting these things. So if you're from the United States, let me know. I'll put you in contact with them and they can tell you. Their visa process was very, very smooth. They did New York City, which is normally the most difficult office to deal with in the USA. And it was really very smooth. Applying for a visa is one of the most stressful things you can ever do. All right. Normally, because people who are applying for visas, it's a real, life-changing event because they're going to work or study in a different country. They might be leaving their own country forever. Okay? So applying for a visa is not an easy process, but it was something which will help you so much in the future because, there's no shortcut. Everything has to be done by the book, but it's actually quite easy, okay? It's not too difficult. I think the difficult things are making sure, one, you've got your medical certificate, two, you've got the correct police record check, and three, you've got the financials. So that's the financial document. But the other 200 people who have come to Spain have all done this. It won't be very difficult for you. I don't need to see your financial documents at all, okay? But I will ask you to keep a copy of all your visa certificates because you'll need them when you come to Spain. So anyway, just a little bit more, a couple of things here. Why you should check with your local consulate webpage. Look, to find out what kind of police record check you need, okay? When you're doing your financial documents, it's not the whole statement, right? We don't want you to send in pages and pages of where you've been spending your money, how you've been using your credit card. No, it should just be a one-page statement that says on this particular date, there was this amount in my account, okay? We recommend using these two companies if they exist in your country, Wise and Resolute, because they both work, Revolut, they both work very, very well, particularly from Australia. Wise works very well, okay? So Wise is a very good account because it means that you can open an account in Australia and then you can convert money to euros and you can use it around the world. It's a very, very easy system. You use your the same card or e-card, whatever it is, to pay on the one account, and you can access everything very, very easily online. My favorite is Wise, and I can send you a referral code if you need that. Okay. The other good thing about Wise is that you can choose any kind of document you need in any language or any of the main language. So you don't need, and you don't need to go into the bank to ask for a certificate. You can download it directly from the website. So I've been using Wise, it's very good. Okay. Translation. Some consulates ask for translation, others don't. Okay. So you need to check with the consulate or with BLS if they're going to ask you for translation. And if you need translations, look, this is a great place in Australia. Migration translators, they're very good. They're reasonably priced, and they will look at the papers and they won't translate things which are not necessary. Some translation agencies are a bit tricky. And so what they do is they just take all the papers you send through. For example, if you send your bank statement and you've got 14 pages, they'll do the whole lot. So, what's that? $50 a page? 700 dollars for my for translating my bank statement. But migration translators will say to you, no, please keep the 14 pages, just send us one, okay? And so they'll check with you. In fact, you can send everything to me before you send it to any translator as well. Okay, the next 3 months are yours. Okay, my time is your time for the next 3 months until you get here and beyond. Okay, application form. Read it very, very quickly. Sorry, very quickly, very carefully. Okay, very carefully. You need to do it nicely. Or say it's not done in person. That was if they ask you to come for an interview. They don't ask you to come for an interview. This is something in the past. They ask you to bring things in. They may ask you to bring things into the consulate, but you have to fill it in beforehand, and you fill it in using your computer or very, very carefully. No bad handwriting. Okay, they'll just send it back to you. The consulate will give you the exact instructions. The approximate fees are approximately $600 US. It, I say this, the difference is really, it's like between 80 and $700 US. And it depends very much if the country where you live has a bilateral agreement with Spain. Yeah. This is the website for BLS in the United States. But actually, if you go on to blsspainvisa.com, okay, you will find the worldwide network look there doing your attendance. Okay? Right. If you need translations, please make sure that they are sworn translations. Each consulate is a little bit different. Okay, they're a little bit different. So there will be a list of translators who you can use. Okay? If you need legalized document, again, legalized document is, for example, my medical certificate. The consulate will want to know that my doctor is bona fide, that is a real doctor, and not somebody I've just invented or a friend. So there's an official list of all the registered doctors. So a legalized document means that you need a third party to look at your document and say, yes, this is a genuine document. This is an authentic document, right? In Australia, this person is the Justice of the Peace, okay, the JP. And you're lucky in Australia, it's a very cheap process. And this person, the Justice of the Peace, normally goes round even to very small towns once a week or once a month and is able to legalize the documents for you. In the USA, again, it's not a difficult process, absolutely not a difficult process. You would have to ask, you would have to consult them locally. Okay? The most expensive form would be for a notary. That's a notary public. That's somebody who is actually able to witness things professionally. They tend to charge a lot more. If you're from the United States, let me know. I will pass you on to Alex and Nico, and they can share some of their knowledge with you. Okay? So very, very important. There's no shortcuts to the visa process. Okay, so if you do start the visa process, the first thing you might do is send an email to them to just reply and say, yes, you can come, you can send, and so on. Make sure you take a note of the name of the person who's sending you any kind of email, so that you can always ask for that person. If things get difficult and you need to give them a call, you know the person was called Gervais or was called Samantha, whatever her name was. When you do call, you're asking particularly for this person. Ask them for advice, okay? And be polite, all right? Spanish consulate workers are famous, okay, as are all Spanish civil servants and public workers. That they do have the right to kind of, if they feel that there is any kind of aggression coming their way, they can pull down the blind that says closed for today. All right. So you have to be very, very discreet and very, very polite with them. Okay, and ask them for advice. Don't ever tell them that no, you're wrong. It's like this. Sometimes they are wrong, unfortunately. Then you just have to say it in a very nice way. Okay. We've had we've had both situations. Particularly, I think when it's with the BLS agency, I think it's a little bit easier because it's subcontracted. Okay. And the final thing about visa or any kind of paper or any kind of delay which you might have is that we will wait for you. Okay. So that means that, Yasmina, even if you're in Germany and the week before you come, you sprain your ankle or you break your arm or something like this, you say, I need 2 weeks to come. Don't worry, we will wait. If your visa is late, we will wait for you. Okay? Everybody else will come. But as soon as you come, as soon as you get here, whatever date, you'll be looked after. I've got 2 marvelous people working with me at the moment. Yes, and Kudzi, who are both ex-volunteers. They'll be absolutely delighted, to when you arrive, whether it's in Valencia or wherever you arrive, to be there, help you out. We do have the orientation. Obviously, we have the orientation, which is the weekend that you arrive, and we'd love you to attend. It's going to be optional this time, and we're going to be taking a vote on this in November. The optional to the extent of, do we have orientation, or would you like to go direct to your placement? I believe orientation is a much better idea. Okay, everybody was really satisfied with it this year. I didn't go. All right, so it was Yes and Kudzi who went and organised it, and I think you're doing it. So finally, if you can't get a visa, if you don't get a visa, you've also got another option. You can come for up to 3 months with no visa. But if you want to spend longer, then you would have to look at the possibility of doing 3 months in Spain, then 3 months outside of Spain, and then coming back for another 3 months. Okay? So that's a possibility if you wanted to. Okay? Unfortunately, there isn't really the possibility now of coming in on a tourist visa, a tourist arrangement for 3 months, and then extending your stay. Okay? It can be done. It can be done, but it's better to come with it. Okay? If you decide to come for 3 months and then to extend, we'd have to look at that and how we do. If you need to call me about it, I can definitely give you some advice. Okay? So I've also sent you something today. I've sent you a special thing today, which is called, let me find it. Okay? Yeah, let me show you. That's all about visas and so on. I know a lot of the visa stuff is going to be individualized. It's going to be about your individual cases. So don't worry, that's what I'm doing for the next few months. Okay? So I've also sent you this document, which is called the volunteer profile. Now, we prepare a volunteer profile for each volunteer, which is one of the documents we send off to the schools. But I would like you to help me do it. Okay? I would like you to fill this in. And okay, this stuff at the top is kind of pretty standard, yes. But I would also like you to talk about your interests and hobbies, motivation especially, and additional information and plans for the future in and beyond Spain. Okay? I'd like you to kind of talk about yourself in the third person. Okay. Imagine that somebody else is writing this about you, but somebody who really wants to, help you and say all the good things. So I want you to kind of take yourself outside of yourself and write a really nice kind of description of yourself, why you want to join the program, or any kind of additional information and future plans. The reason I want you to do this is the information which we supply to the schools is quite extensive because it always comes with a sort of description of the program and so on and so forth. So actually what they're reading about you is not a lot of information apart from your personal letter. But if we can give them something a bit more, with a bit more impact, that's why I'm inviting you to do this. Okay, so I've sent this to everybody by email. Please, if you can fill it in and send it to me maybe after the weekend, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, if you feel uncomfortable doing it, don't worry, it will be edited out. I will have a look at it and take out anything which sounds a bit too corny or a bit too much. And I'll also be including a little bit about our interview report, which we did with you, so that people can think about, the interview report specifically identifies support we think you would need. Okay, so I would recommend that some people go to a smaller community, a larger community, only family accommodation, willing to do shared accommodation, stuff like that. That stuff I will add to it. So don't worry, this won't be the information as such which people see. Okay, so by the end of next week, I want to start getting out some proposals for you guys, and by the end of the month, have everybody placed. Okay, so any questions from me? Any questions?
So since I'm from Germany, I already have the European health card. What kind of other insurance do I need?
No, you're absolutely fine.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Yeah. But I would like a copy of the European health card. Okay.
All right, I'll send to you.
In fact, there's a place, I will send you a link. Don't worry, don't do it now. I will send you a link on our platform. We've got this platform which sends out these automated messages asking you to upload things. You will receive one about your insurance, and you can upload your e-Cigna European health.
All right, great.
Okay. Another really good thing is, there's 22 volunteers at the moment. I'm expecting 15 in January. So there'll be a big group waiting to welcome you, wherever you are. So, that's nice, so these things going. Okay. Okay. I will let you get back to whatever you're doing. Thank you very much. And we will have, next Thursday, look, I'll post a little link at a different time of day so that anybody who couldn't come on today, can come and have a chat. And the next time we meet, we're going to be talking about schools a little bit and about what schools want, which is quite important for you to start preparing. Okay? Lovely. Thank you. And I really appreciate you joining. We'll speak soon.